He rushed into the fire to save her, not knowing she was of royal blood. The village of Verith burned like a funeral pyre beneath a blood-red sky. Flames roared through the wooden homes. Smoke twisted into the air like writhing ghosts. People screamed. Horses ran wild. And in the center of it all, a lone man broke through the chaos. His coat already smoldering, his face blackened by soot. Kale was not a hero, not by his own telling. Just a former soldier who had seen too much war and now hauled firewood for coin. He had returned from the outer woods that morning only to find his adopted home consumed by fire and steel. The raiders had come from the east. Bandits, some said. Mercenaries, others believed. Kale didn't care. He only knew that people were dying, and he had to do something. He kicked through a collapsed door where cries had pierced the smoke. Inside, the air was thick and choking. Beams glowed red-hot. Somewhere in the corner of the room, a figure huddled beneath a fallen timber. "Hold on," Kale shouted, already coughing. He dove in, muscles straining against the blistering heat. His fingers wrapped around the beam, and with a roar he lifted, just enough to drag her out. The woman underneath was small, her silver robe stained with soot. Her eyes, wide and violet, locked with his. For a moment, everything stopped, not because of recognition, but because she didn't look afraid. She looked furious. Kale hauled her to her feet. "Can you walk?" "I'm not helpless," she snapped, brushing ash from her arm. "Good," he grunted. "Then run." He didn't wait for an argument. Grabbing her hand, he led her through the burning wreckage, shielding her from falling debris and guiding her past collapsing walls. Once outside, she stopped. "There are others." He turned back. "I know." And without another word, he ran back into the fire. When Kale returned with 2 more villagers on his back, the silver-robed woman was still there, shouting orders, organizing survivors, lifting children into carts. Only later did he learn who she was. Princess Liraen of Solidries, royal blood, hidden in exile, sent to live quietly in the village under an alias, watched over by loyal guards who were all now dead. Kale stared at her across the healer's tent, his bandaged hands resting on his knees. She approached with quiet steps. "You didn't know," she said. He shook his head. "Didn't matter." Liraen studied him. "You could have left me. That house was collapsing." He looked at her then. "You were alive. That was enough." A silence passed. Not awkward, just heavy with things unspoken. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for seeing a person, not a title." Kale nodded once. "Any time, princess." She winced. "Please." "Liraen, I've had enough formalities for 3 lifetimes." He almost smiled. Almost. In the days that followed, the survivors regrouped in the forest. Makeshift shelters. Food ration. Weapons scavenged. Kale worked silently, his burns healing slowly. He had seen royalty before, parading in golden carriages. Speaking of glory they never bled for. But Liraen was different. She woke before dawn, tended to the injured, shared her meals, carried the dead. And when she spoke to people, they listened, not because of her title, but because of her fire. One night, by a low campfire, she approached him again. "I found out your history," she said without preamble. Kale didn't look up. "Captain in the Western Legion. Medal of Valor. Then you vanished." "Because I was tired of watching people die for crowns," he muttered. She sat beside him. "Do you think I'm like them?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "No." She exhaled. "Good. Because I don't want to rule from a throne. I want to rebuild a kingdom from the ashes. One where no one has to run through fire to save a stranger." He looked at her. "That's a nice dream." She turned to him, eyes fierce. "Then help me make it real." He stared into the fire. His hands twitched. You don't know what you're asking. I do, she said softly. I'm asking you to believe again. They sat in silence. Then finally he said, All right, but if I follow you, I do it my way. She nodded, agreed. Months passed. The camp became a village. Word spread. Survivors came from the hills, the ruined towns, the scorched fields. Liraen led them, and Kale became her sword. Not her knight, not her servant, her equal. Together, they carved order from chaos, fought off mercenary bands, reclaimed small outposts, trained others. One day, as snow began to fall, Kale stood atop a watchtower beside her. You've done it, he said, looking out across the lit tents and warm fires. No, she replied. We've done it. She looked at him, a quiet warmth in her eyes. You were the first to reach for me, the first to remind me I wasn't just something to be protected. You saved me, Kale. He turned to her, and you gave me something back. What? He stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. Purpose. She smiled softly. Then maybe we saved each other. He reached for her hand, rough and scarred, meeting hers, smooth, strong, royal. But that night, they weren't soldier and princess. Just two souls who walked through fire and came out whole,